Ok, ja, dobrodošli nazaj na tretjem predavanju o bloku drugačnih aspektih razvoja in družbene organizacije. Tako, zdaj sledi predavanje Xiangzhan Chenga, ki je profesor estetike na šoli za literaturo in komuniciranje na univerziji v Shandongu. Je pa tudi namestnik raziskovalnega centra za literarno teorijo in estetiko univerze v Shandongu. Zdaj njegovo raziskovalno področje vključuje zgodovino kitajske estetike, okoljsko estetiko pa ekološko estetiko. Tako da profesor se ukvarja v bistvu zelo redko tematiko na področju ekologije in to je namreč eko-estetika. Zdaj, o čem bo šlo predavanje, bom sem na hitro prebral. Pojav in razcvet ekološke estetike na Kitajskem v 21. stoletju je zgodovinsko nujni odziv na novo dobo eko-civilizacije. Preobrazba iz industrijske v eko-civilizacijo se ne nanaša zgolj na gospodarsko in družbeno preobrazbo, temveč tudi na preobrazbo iz tradicionalnega antropocentrizma v eko-humanizem oziroma eko-holizem, ter preobrazbo iz tradicionalne estetike subjektivnosti v subjektivnost estetike ekološkega biti. Kitajska eko-estetika si sposoja več teoretskih temeljev iz tradicionalne kitajske ekološke modrosti, katera pa vzema tako imenovana Eko-Sofija C, Eko-Sofija C, in v bistvu je življenje na tradicionalni kitajski estetiki osnovana na ontologiji Kija, ki se ne nanaša na življenje, kot pri zahodni estetiki življenja, temveč na življenje vseh biti. Tako da ja, besedo pa sedaj predajam predavatelju in zgolj.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I'm too sleepy now. Yeah, please wake me up if I will go to sleep, okay? Firstly, I want to thank the organizers of this great event, Dr. Tommy, who kindly invited me here and take his outstanding organizing work for this summer school. During the past 2 days, I had a lot of talks with participants from all over the world. When I raised a question, what do you think, or what do you think when you think of the word of China? One friend told me, whenever I think of China, I think of dumplings. Yeah, dumplings are very delicious Chinese food. Another friend told me, when she thinks of China, she thinks of panda. Okay, dumplings and pandas are symbols of traditional Chinese food and Chinese animal. But today, I'm going to talk about 2 other concepts, new concepts. I really hope, since today, whenever you think of China, please do think of 2 new concepts. The first one is ecological civilization, and the second one is ecological aesthetics. So I'm going to take a very brief introduction to these 2 concepts and their connections from a Chinese perspective. Here is the outline. After the introduction, I'm going to talk about, firstly, the concept of ecological civilization in China. Secondly, I'm going to talk about Chinese ecological aesthetics promoted by ecological civilization, in which I'm going to talk about the connections between the 2 terms. Thirdly, I'm going to talk international response to ecological civilization in China. I just want to introduce a new case from Australia. And actually, I'm a scholar of aesthetics. I don't have too much interest in politics. However, just as Aristotle in his Politics says, human being by nature is a political animal. So today, I just perform to act as a kind of political animal. Political ecology is a new term for me. Before this summer school, I didn't have enough knowledge about this term. Generally speaking, as it is well known, ecology is the branch of biology which studies the interactions among organisms and their environment. We human beings is a kind of special organisms. Our interaction with our environment is different from that of other species, other animals. Our activities contains a lot of dimensions, such as economic, political, cultural, aesthetic one. So, my topic, inspired by political ecology, is today's topic. I don't have too much interest in politics, just some interest in the relationship between political discourse and academic debate, and sincerely hope to contribute in a scholarly way to the ongoing Chinese project of advancing ecological civilization and building a beautiful China. That's our ongoing project. The theme of my topic. It is well known that the global ecological crisis is threatening the very existence of humanity. Some scholars assert that the most radical response to global disaster is the creation of a new civilization, ecological civilization. In China, the term ecological civilization appeared in the early 1980s in the academic domain and was then followed by political discourse. There's a great change from academic term into a political one. In 2005, the concept of ecological civilization was taken as a new version for the research on ecological aesthetics. So let's talk about them one by one. Firstly, the concept of ecological civilization in China. Before 2007, the notion of ecological civilization was actually coined in the Soviet Union. In 1984, but it was in China that it was taken up, developed, and successfully promoted by official with a high rank, whose name is Pan Yue. Here is his face. He was the Vice Minister of China's State Environmental Protection Administration at that time. So 2007 is a significant year in the history of ecological civilization. In this year, ecological civilization was proposed by Hu Jintao, the president of China, General Secretary of the General Committee of the Communist Party of China, in his report to the 17th National Congress of CPC. I think this fact is very important, which means ecological civilization since then has been promoted as a national strategy and a national policy, not an academic term again. Ecological civilization, since then, it was officially proposed that China should build an ecological civilization, creating more sustainable relationships between production, consumption, distribution, and economic growth. Ecological civilization was incorporated into the official discourse as a new model of growth to replace the old unsustainable model. Rather than emphasizing economic construction as the core of development as it did in the past, China had come to realize that development, if sustainable, must entail a list of elements, including the right relationship between man and nature, which is a philosophical consideration, not only a political one. The great change from sustainable development to ecological civilization. There's a great change before the concept of ecological civilization. What is well known is the concept of sustainable development with the focus on economic growth. But it was replaced by the new concept of ecological civilization. Well, the 18th National Congress of the CPC in 2012, ecological civilization was listed among with economic, political, cultural, and social progress as one of the 5 goals in the country's overall development plan at the 18th National Congress of the Communist Party of China in 2012, when President Xi Jinping was elected General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee. The key tenets of ecological civilization include the need to respect, protect, and adapt to nature. I think this sentence is a philosophical one, not only a political one. A commitment to resource conservation, environmental restoration and protection, recycling, low carbon use, and sustainable development. Xi Jinping's report to the 19th CPC Congress in 2017. In the first part of the report, Xi stated approvingly that China had made much progress on ecological civilization since the last Congress. Notably, the report put beautiful China, along with the rich and strong, democratic, civilized, harmonious, as the words to describe the goals for China's future. For the Chinese people, beautiful China means green China, a China with a healthy ecological environment. The third part of the report concerned the basic strategy. Greening was listed along with creative, coordinated, open, and sharing as the 5 basic concepts for China's development. In the fourth part of the report, Xi stated that there were 3 great challenges that China faced: pollution, financial risks, and poverty relief. All of the part 4, not 4, 9 I should say, 4 of the report is about ecological civilization. The title of the part is Speeding Reform of Ecological Civilization System and Building Beautiful China. The report said that humans and nature are a life community. I think life community is not only a political term, but a philosophical one, and especially a key term in the field of ecology. Humans must respect nature, follow nature, and protect nature. Only by following the principles of nature will humans avoid taking the wrong way in receiving nature's gifts. Part 12 of the report was on human community with a common destiny, which means all over the world, all countries, all people. It said that humans are facing many common threats with which no country can deal alone. She called on all the peoples in the world to build a human community with a common destiny and construct a world with lasting peace, safety for all, shared prosperity, openness, inclusion, clearness, and beauty. As the President Xi Jinping always hold a lot of national congresses, and during which he talk about a lot of the construction project of ecological civilization in China, in which he addressed a lot of famous words. I briefly share some of his famous words. The first one was proposed in 2013. A good ecological environment is the fairest public product and the most accessible welfare for the people. Another one is mountains, water, forests, farmland, and lakes are all parts of a common living community. This is an ecological term. The administration of their use and ecological rehabilitation must be in accordance with the law of nature. Another one, loose side waters and loose mountains are as valuable as gold and silver. The country should protect the environment like one protects his eyes and treat the environment like one treats his life. These are just words. If the words were promoted by me, I don't think they are very influential. But all of them were proposed by the Chinese president. So they are very influential in China to some extent. His words is our national policy, So the significance of the notion of ecological civilization, I try to reflect the notion from a philosophical perspective. We can try to sum up the significance of the concept of ecological civilization. Firstly, to reflect the forces driving the whole of humanity to equal side. And secondly, to reflect human future within the framework of three historical strategies of human civilization, which are agricultural civilization, industrial civilization, and ecological civilization. That's our division of the whole history of human civilization into three key phrases. The last one, which is so thirdly, as the successor to industrial civilization, the goal of ecological civilization is very helpful in healing the ecological destruction and catastrophe caused by industrial civilization. It is because we have taken a lot of reflection on the failure of industrialization. Then we are trying to promote another new kind of civilization to replace industrial civilization. That's what I'm talking about, ecological civilization. And ecological civilization enables us to clarify the meaning of civilization. We always use the word of civilization, but what is the authentic or real meaning of civilization? What does it mean to be a civilized person? I don't think that's easy to take a clear definition. So, to bring into focus the decent barbarism of later capitalism, and to investigate more clearly its transcendence. Lastly, ecological civilization provides a new version of the future. Do we human beings have a future? What is our future? So ecological civilization can provide us a new version of future that can capture people's imagination, just to imagine what is the real ecological civilization and the ecological society, and mobilize them from the required transformation. So, the second part actually is my academic focus. I'm a professor of aesthetics with a focus on ecological aesthetics. So, in order to have a better understanding of the development of ecological aesthetics, we can divide it into two stages, before and after. Before the concept of ecological civilization, and after it. The landmark year is 2005. I'm going to introduce before the concept of ecological civilization. The face is an American scholar. Maybe most of us can know his big name, Arnold Leopold. In 1949, when the People's Republic of China was founded, the exact year, a very famous book was published by Oxford University, which is entitled A Sand County Almanac. In this outstanding book, Leopold proposed a very famous slogan: "Everything is right when it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong when it tends otherwise." We can see there are 4 keywords in this famous sentence. The first one, integrity; second one, stability; and the third one, beauty. Beauty is the focus of the field of aesthetics. That's why I think this book is the philosophical foundation of the later field of what we call ecological aesthetics, although Leopold himself didn't use this phrase. The first scholar who used the ecological aesthetics is another American scholar who is Joseph Nicker. In 1972, Nicker published an article entitled "Notes Toward an Ecological Aesthetic" in Canadian Fiction magazine. Here we have Dr. Aroni. You must tell me something about this journal. This article was revised as Chapter 6 in Nicker's book, The Comedy of Survival: Studies in Literary Ecology. In this article, or in this book, Nicker's argument starts with the reflection of Western aesthetic theories. He declares that since Plato, Western aesthetics has always been dominated by the great art versus nature debate. Traditionally, aesthetic theory emphasized the separation of artistic from nature creation, and assumed that art was the higher or spiritualized product of the human soul, and not to be confused with the lower or animal world of biology. For Nicker, no matter we regard art as an unnatural product or as man's spiritual transcendence over nature, both ideas distort the relationship of nature and art. Nicker asserts that Darwin's evolutionary theory shows the evolution process of living creatures and indicates that traditional anthropocentric thinking has overestimated human spirituality and underestimated biological complexity. From the 19th century, philosophers began to re-examine the closeness of biology and humanity and began to re-evaluate aesthetic theory in the light of new biological knowledge. That's the key point of what he calls the ecological aesthetics, to re-evaluate aesthetic theory in the light of new biological ecology. So briefly, we can say ecological aesthetics is to re-evaluate aesthetics from the perspective of ecology. That's a working definition of ecological aesthetics, very briefly. Under such kind of research thinking, Meeker said that aesthetic theory may be more successful in defining beauty when it incorporates some of the concept of nature and its process when have formulated by contemporary biologists and ecologists. Briefly put, the strategy and the connotation of Meeker's ecological aesthetic is as below, taking Darwin's theory of biological evolution as the theoretical foundation and laying emphasis on humankind's biological nature, reflecting and reconstructing aesthetic theory in the light of contemporary biological and ecological knowledge. I must move faster. Otherwise, yeah. Another American scholar named Paul Gobster, who was invited by me to visit China in 2009. We took a picture together. And his question is, Paul Gobster's question is, how can we design and plan for and manage landscapes to sustain mutually beneficial relationship between people and ecological system? I just showed some of Paul Gobster's papers, titles. Through these titles, we can get a basic idea of his Paul Gobster's basic idea. His idea is integrating aesthetic and biodiversity values at his papers. And his second basic idea is linking ecology, sustainability, and aesthetics together. So yesterday a friend asked me, what is the connection between ecology and aesthetics? As it is well known, ecology is a sub-branch of natural sciences. However, aesthetics is a branch of humanities. There is a big gap between the two fields. So how can you connect or link them up? Gobster gives some answers to this question. The last paper is the shared landscape. What does aesthetics have to do with ecology? Yeah, you can. So let's move to China, which is today's focus. The formal beginning of ecological aesthetics in China is the Xing's paper in 1994. However, the national attention to ecological aesthetics is the year of 2001, which is the formal beginning of the new century. When the first national-wide symposium of ecological aesthetics was held at Shanxi Normal University in Xi'an City. Here is a scholar in the field of ecological aesthetics who was the former president of Shandong University and is my boss. We have a very, very close academic relationship with each other. That's his first book, Aesthetics, Collected Papers on Aesthetics of Ecological Existence, which was published in 2003. The core idea of the book is the phrase, ecological existence, which is an ecological interpretation of Martin Heidegger's fundamental ontology. This is a German scholar. Fundamentally, ontology is defined in Martin Heidegger's book, Kant and the Problem of Metaphysics, as the metaphysics of human design, which is required for metaphysics to be made possible. Yeah. Summary. A brief summary of the past. The main trend of ecological civilization before 2005, linking ecology with aesthetics. The core question is, what is the intrinsic close connection between the two fields of ecology and aesthetics? So let's move to the story after 2005 to another key word, which is ecological civilization, which means we are going to talk about the connection between ecological civilization and ecological aesthetics. So, ecological aesthetics promoted by ecological civilization in China. Wow, I make a very big mistake in the title. 2015 should be 2005. Yeah, the next sentence is correct. An international conference on aesthetics and literature in the version of contemporary ecological civilization was held by my university in 2005, not 2015. There were more than 180 participants from United Kingdom, Norway, Finland, Holland, South Korea, Japan, and China. The collection of the conference papers was formally published in the next year, entitled Man and Nature, Aesthetics and Literature in the Version of Contemporary Ecological Civilization, which was published by Henan People's Prize. In this collection, Professor Zheng delivers his paper, The Notion of Ecological Aesthetics in the Version of Contemporary Ecological Civilization. Zheng's paper is based on an article entitled On Ecological Civilization, published in Guangming Daily in 2004. Here I want to emphasize the importance of this newspaper. Maybe this is the second influential political paper in China, which is called Guangming Daily. The article says that human civilization is in the process of transforming into ecological civilization, which is a new form civilization after industrial civilization. Borrowed some key ideas from the article, then asserts that the coming of ecological civilization raises a series of new questions for aesthetics, promoting the aesthetics in industrial civilization to transform in order to adapt to ecological civilization. The civilization must be transformed. Also, the theory of aesthetics. Zheng has another book, which is entitled The Exploration and the Dialogue of Aesthetics in the Era of Ecological Civilization, which is published by my university prize in 2013. The theme of the book can be summarized as below. Based on the ecological nature of human existence, human existence is a kind of what he defines as ecological existence, because everybody exists in the ecological system. The book explores the way of unifying the ecological conception, humanistic conception, and aesthetic conception, which is the idea of ecological aesthetics. Me Too published a paper in 2014, which is entitled The Notion of Ecological Civilization and the Direction of Ecological Aesthetics, inspired by the idea of respecting, protecting, and adapting to nature promoted by the 18th National Congress of the CPC 2012. The article defines ecological civilization as a civilization in harmony with nature. Human agent as the creator and subject of civilization ought to respect nature ethically, to adapt to nature in the ways of production and living, and to protect nature in practical actions. Firstly, leading to explore ecological aesthetics with the focus on the relationship between aesthetic activity and ecological civilization. Secondly, to ecologicalize the aesthetic subject from a Cartesian subject to embodied subject. That's Cartesian is Descartes, the very famous French scholar who acted in the 17th century. And thirdly, to ecologicalize the aesthetic object. Objects appear in ecological awareness so as to differ ecological aesthetics from nature aesthetics and environmental aesthetics. There are various kinds of phrases trying to define the newly emerging of aesthetics. Somebody says, Western scholar says, which should be called environmental aesthetics, made by American and Canadian scholars. But for me, there is a clear distinction between what I'm called ecological aesthetics and American and Canadian scholars called environmental aesthetics. And fourthly, to put the theory of ecological civilization, aesthetics into the ecological practice, such as urban and rural planning and design, so as to build up beautiful channel. Professor Zheng and I was invited to have a talk, have a dialogue in 2014, which was formulated into a formal paper and was formally published in a journal, which is the Journal of Pojav, which is the only journal concentrated on eco-studies in China. Our dialogue is entitled The Construction of Aesthetics in the Age of Eco-Civilization, a dialogue on the idea of eco-civilization and today's transformation of Chinese aesthetics. I just read the abstract of this dialogue because the dialogue is very, very long, in which I assess that the emergence and the flourishing of eco-aesthetics in China in the 21st century is a historical necessary response to the new age of eco-civilization. The transformation from industrial civilization to eco-civilization is not only a significant economic and social transformation, but also a transformation from modern Western anthropocentrism to eco-humanism or eko-holism, and a transformation from modern aesthetics of subjectivity to aesthetics of ecological existence. This paragraph contains a lot of key words. And eco-aesthetics not only take ecology as its base, but also takes eco-philosophy related to ecology, especially Heidegger's philosophy of ecological existence as its base. Chinese eco-aesthetics borrows a lot of theoretical resources from Western environmental aesthetics and is closely connected with the economic background of traditional Chinese agriculture society, which can be defined as agriculture civilization. And the idea of the unit of nature and mankind in traditional Chinese philosophy. The unit of nature and mankind, which is a very famous Chinese slogan with 4 Chinese characters, which is 天人合一. Some of us can speak brief Chinese, So that's my very brief introduction to the conception of ecological civilization and eco-aesthetics in China. Should I stop here for some questions or yeah? Or
I was hypnotized. Are you done?
Yeah, I have not done. I just want to ask questions or should I continue? Not done.
V Sloveniji pravzaprav...
Wait for a second.
I will not English.
Okay, you will can speak English, please.
No, put it.
I just want to have some questions to take a break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
V Sloveniji pravzaprav nismo veliko seznanjeni z eko-estetiko. Pri nas ponovadi te zadeve prevzemajo krajinski arhitekti ali pa bodisi ekologi preko določenih projektov. Pa vendar nekaj znanih dobrih praks je na področju, kjer posamezniki iz svojim entuziazmom povrnejo nek človeški poseg v naravi do te mere, da je ponovno povrnjena primarno stanje, ki je se morda nastalo oziroma izjalovilo zaradi nekih človeških posegov. Slovenija v kratkem čaka izjemen projekt, kjer se lovi vsa politika, ki je na nek način pomemben infrastrukturni poseg v naravo, vendar pa ne v projektu, niti v političnih sferah se ne govori, kakšen in kako naj bo ta poseg, da bi se čim manj posegalo strani tega projekta, to gre za slovensko železnico, da ne bi vplivalo na okolje, se pravi naravno okolje in hkrati tudi že na obstoječe urbano okolje. Pa me zanima, kako te zadeve rešujete na Kitajskem, saj vem, da ste v zadnjem desetletju močno napredovali v izgradnji tovrstnih infrastruktur. Če se je upošteval tudi vaš znanstveni vidik na te zadeve. Hvala.
It's a very big question for me to answer because I'm not a planner or designer. I just a professor. Aesthetics, we focus on ecological aesthetics. In China, we have a slogan: somebody who doesn't like theories or see, wow, what you are doing is nothing but empty theory, empty theory, it means cannot put into social practice. However, ecological aesthetics has attracted a lot of attention from practical projects such as landscape architecture. In China, we do have a lot of such kind of projects inspired or promoted by the idea of ecological design with some aesthetic consciousness can be called ecological aesthetics. Yeah, that's true. I can give you an example. A professor named Yu of Peking University or Beijing University who designed a lot of landscape architecture and projects all over the China. Even some of his projects were taken in other countries, like Russia, so many places. So the idea behind his project is ecological aesthetics. I can give you a list of references if you email me, or you can tell me your email address. I can give you a lot of very rich literature relevant to this topic. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
great.
Jaz sem imel vprašanje glede ekološke civilizacije. Ne? Profesor, vi ste rekli, da je uradna politika Kitajske tudi po letu 2017 uradno zapisana, da pač stremite k tej ekološki civilizaciji, da se pravi družbi, ki bo skrbela za okolje, naravo in tako naprej. Mene pa zanima, kaj pa ekološka civilizacija v smislu Afrike? Ne? Vemo, da je Kitajska največji, bom rekel, pod narekovaj izkoriščevalec afriških virov, da se vložiš za več kot 125 milijard dolarjev oziroma evrov in da dejansko so ta okolja v Afriki izredno degradirane. Ne? Kaj pa Kitajska meni o ekološki civilizaciji na tem področju, v teh afriških državah?
I think there's a political issue, not an academic one. Maybe we can try to answer this question from the perspective of academic research. In my presentation, I have expressed that all human beings is a community, and all countries are interdependent. So Chinese government have been taking the concept of ecological civilization as the future of all human beings, not only for Chinese people. So I hope for more and more countries can know the idea of ecological civilization. Yeah, that's why I came here to attend this international summer school, and that's why I made up my mind to talk about the concept of ecological civilization. Maybe your country can adapt or can borrow this kind of new concept or new version for your country's development. Okay? I'm not sure whether I can answer the question or not. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. I remember, I'm familiar with the concept, of course, from being in China. The basis of so much of what you said is already contained in traditional Chinese science, as we understand it in the West, from the books of Joseph Needham. And I was wondering why you didn't maybe ground the concept more in your own tradition, drawing on that. And if you could, perhaps pull out a few of the principles in traditional Chinese science which actually support your thesis for ecological civilization, and particularly around the idea that the knowledge must be embodied. This is really wonderful.
Thank you for your comments. I will share me a very lovely paper entitled Socialism and Ecological Civilization in China. I feel very sorry that I didn't find this paper during my preparation for my presentation. Otherwise, I'm going to introduce everyone's lovely paper. Yeah. In my presentation, I try to outline the whole human civilization into 3 stages. The first one is the agricultural civilization. In China, of course, China has a very, very long history, mainly history of agricultural civilization. Based on this kind of civilization, there were a lot of ideas which can be reinterpreted from the perspective of contemporary concept. such as ecology, ecosophy, and so on and so forth. I always tell my students, you don't have to say directly that there were some ecological ideas in traditional Chinese thought. No, I don't think so. Ecology is a modern discipline which was proposed by the German biologist named Eko in 1866. Before that, we can just see some ideas of traditional ecological knowledge, not in a very series of contemporary ecology. So we can borrow some ideas and inspired by some ideas from traditional Chinese philosophy and from other traditional Chinese traditional civilizations. So that's my idea. Yeah.
And the embodiment, embodied.
Yeah, that's the work of scholars. For me, I just in order to promote or develop the idea of ecological aesthetics, I usually take a lot of theoretical resources, wherever, whatever. And I think these resources are very helpful in constructing my theory of ecological aesthetics. I really borrow, including the environmental aesthetics in America and proposed by Kennedy scholar named Ecosophy C.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, thank you for your presentation. But I have a similar question than the other questions before. I started with the concept of eco-civilization. I have two questions. One on the concept itself and one to its application in aesthetics. I will be in the end of October, there will be a conference, there will be a Candy conference in China on the concept of constructing socialist ecosystem. So the emphasis on constructing, it's not something there, something under construction, and the socialist character of eco-civilization is emphasized. My colleague Xiangzhan Cheng mentioned it yesterday, is very much less the emphasis on this. So in your speech it was not so important, but it's important for the very meaning of this. What means this eco-civilization as something beyond industrial society? Industrial civilization, as you mentioned. No? Because I realized, being in China several times, that the Chinese government is absolutely engaged in avoiding pollution or reducing pollution, air pollution, and so on. I was really impressed by, for example, fast trains and e-mobility and so on. No? So a lot of pollution-related issues were really undertaken by the government. But if you want to go beyond industrial civilization, you have to go beyond fossil fuels, in my understanding.
Yeah.
And this is something totally different, and I even struggle with the Chinese government even engaged in this going beyond coal, for example, coal mining and so on. So this is the question of extraction that was raised before. This is not only about China, but also the role of China in the world. And yesterday I gave you some evidence for the second great acceleration, mainly driven by China. So this is a major question. What would it mean to construct a socialist eco-civilization and going beyond fossil fuels? And the second question is the application of this term in aesthetics. I'm not sure about this, but I'm struggling with this Heidegger philosophy. If you go back to this philosophy of an ontology of nature, it conflicts clearly with the diagnosis of the Anthropocene. In the Anthropocene, there is nothing like this first nature or nature untouched by human beings. The very meaning of the term Anthropocene means all landscapes are to some degree transformed by human. There are no laws of nature without their transformation or modification by human beings. So I am really struggling a little bit how you can apply an ontology in these times today.
Wow. Two questions. Yeah. Firstly, I should say welcome to China. In this October, yeah, if you have more time, I can invite you officially to visit my Xiangzhan University, give a lecture there, okay? Okay. The first perspective is what they call the social, the construction of ecological civilization with Chinese characters. Because everybody here knows that China is a very, very big country in terms of population or resource consumption. And the main reason for Chinese government to launch the project of the construction of ecological civilization is the current situation in China is very serious, such as whenever you visit China, you can experience the very harmful air and so on and so forth. I don't want to give too much examples. So this is a problem. In China, we can, in order to prepare for this presentation, I bought a book, an English book, which is contained in a series of books. The title of this book series is Understanding China. The title of this book is China's Way of Green Development. I think by green development, we here means the Chinese people mean to reduce the dependencies on what you call the fossil resources and try to use some other kind of resources such as solar energy and so on and so forth. We have another kind of experts in dealing with this kind of issues. So I don't think that's my job. I don't have enough knowledge in science and technology. So secondly, second question, you mean nature. Nature is real nature or only the kind of conception constructed by our social discourse. I think nature originally is natural process, a kind of long-term of evolutionary process during which many kinds of life forms emerged, including our human being. What you said, the key concept in your presentation which impressed me deeply is the key term of anthropocene. So anthropocene is a concept, according to my understanding, which tries to develop the special historical period in human civilization, which is what I call industrial civilization. Before that, nature was nature. Or we can say before the emergence of human civilization, nature was nature. But nature was dramatically changed by industrial civilization. So today, you may ask me whether there is real nature on this planet of Earth or not. I think there are some natural states on our planet of Earth. You can see every place on the planet of Earth was has been influenced by human activities, even the Arctic region and so on and so forth. But I think the percentage is different from one place to another. Yeah. So I think nature should be a very helpful name to describe the natural state or the natural process of evolutionary process. Yeah. Okay, maybe I should continue my last part with a very brief introduction to international response to civilization in China. I feel sorry I didn't meet Ariel before this presentation. Otherwise, I'm going to take you as my example. I'm wondering whether you know that guy. There's another, also Australia scholar from whose name is Aaron Guy. Do you know him or not? Yeah. The phrase ecological civilization ranged its way into the lexicon of the international community at the United Nations Environmental Program Governing Council meeting in 2013 in Norway. The Council appreciated the Chinese delegation's promotion of ecological civilization as an effort to achieve sustainable development in light of national conditions. Although delegates were confused, and some to hear this term, the Chinese delegation resumed that their counterparts that ecological civilization is a more comprehensive expression of sustainable development. Just as I introduced briefly, the term of sustainable development mainly concentrates on economic growth, which is not comprehensible. That's why we think the concept of ecological civilization is more comprehensible. Armgay, whose face is here, he is Associate Professor of Philosophy and Cultural Inquiry in Australia. His basic statement: the deficient assumptions of modernity led to the civilization of modernity, which must be replaced by ecological civilization, an ecologically sustainable civilization, a civilization based on precise metaphysics and a fusion of science and humanities in human ecology. Why we need philosophy? Arngay composed a book I'm going to show you, which is entitled The Philosophical Foundations of Ecological Civilization. So I just here raise the question, why need philosophy? Civilizations are characterized by deep assumptions about the nature of the world and the place of humanity within it, and thereby the ultimate ends worthy striving for. Ecological civilization will involve a transformation in deep assumptions. Here I mean those deep philosophical assumptions, ways of thinking from traditional modern thinking into what we call ecological thinking, and ultimate aspirations. So, what are the deep assumptions and ideas behind ecological civilization and aesthetics? A book, a very newly published book by Arngay, The Philosophical Foundations of Ecological Civilization, a manifesto for the future. I do have the PDF version of this book. I can share with all of you with interest. In this book's preface, the Arngay says he would also like to pay tribute to Pan Yue, who has promoted the goal of ecological civilization in China. Pan Yue was the Vice Minister of China's State Environmental Protection Administration. So I personally don't know whether they have some connection with each other. I even tried to email Arngay to ask him how did him know Pan Yue. Also, I didn't send this email yet. Yeah. In his book's introduction, he says, what is required is the means to achieve this integration in order to mobilize humanity, to redefine its place in the cosmos and its destiny, and then on the foundation to create a society that arguments urgent life and the current regime of the global ecosystem. This will require a reorientation of philosophy to overcome fragmentation and replace the defective philosophical assumptions that have dominated modernity, including mainstream science, at page 11. it will require a revival of speculative philosophy and the philosophy of nature. His philosophy of nature is called speculative naturalism. And it is to this end that this book is a manifesto for ecological civilization, but it is also a manifesto for the philosophy of nature. It is a manifesto for speculative naturalism, also with speculative dialectics. So from a very scientific perspective, Arangay in this work struggles with the problems raised by the mutually reinforcing practice of Newton science and analytical philosophy, which has motivated the ascendance of techno-science and the eclipse of a more holistic ecological science. His own perspective on science in society emerges from a generally phenomenological viewpoint. Taking a dialectical stance, he urges that our conceptual world needs to get beyond the focus on analysis and some tentative synopsis. He urges speculative naturalism in the form found by Schelling, another German scholar, which transcends both British analytical philosophy and French structuralism as being suitable for guiding scientific inquiry. Then, as well, importantly, such an approach potentially presents a framework informative for environmentalism. This latter connection points to the goal of creating an ecological civilization. So I don't have too much time. In a world in which people's minds have been colonized so effectively by the forms of thinking and the illusion of capitalism. So in yesterday's presentation, some scholar tried to propose an eco-society beyond capitalism, including illusions about what constitutes a good life. It is also necessary to recover the cultural achievements of pre-capitalist civilizations. Pre-capitalist civilizations should include what we call the traditional Chinese agricultural civilization, and Chinese proponents of ecological civilization are justified in their claims that Chinese traditions of thought focused on finding Dao. Dao means way, or the way we are passing, have much to contribute to working out how to live in the present and how to create a post-capitalist society, which might be or should be defined as an ecological society. Here's Grace's conclusion. Reformulating culture through speculative naturalism will create new subjectivities. Subjectivities committed to addressing and overcoming the threats to democracy, civilization, humanity, and terrestrial life from ecological destruction, and in doing so, creating a new civilization, an ecological civilization. Yeah, that's the page number. So after his conclusion, I want to address my conclusion and hope. The global ecological crisis is threatening the very existence of all humanity globally. Humanities must take some radical change to face this challenge. The ongoing project of constructing ecological aesthetics is a response to the ecological crisis, which is my main job during the past 18 years since 2001, when I took part in the first National Congress of Ecological Aesthetics. The unique feature of ecological aesthetics in China is its close connection with ecological civilization. Both of them should encourage and promote each other. The more the idea of ecological civilization is embraced globally, that's why I briefly introduced an international response to this new conception. The more power the radical Chinese environmentalists will have to influence their government to live up the ideal they have spawned. Okay, thank you very much and welcome to Central University of China to experience directly the ongoing project of constructing eco-civilization in China. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, we still have some time for questions.
Thank you for a fascinating presentation. In your very first slide, you showed rice paddies on a mountainside in Yunnan province. And when we were in China a few years ago, we were lucky enough to visit that site. I think it's called the Scales of the Dragon or the Spine of the Dragon. And it's a vast area, several mountains, I don't know how many square miles, hundreds of square miles of terraces, rice terraces, paddies, terraced on the mountainside. We were told that some of them were 800 years old, and that this had been a functioning agricultural system for hundreds of years. It seemed to me that certainly it's clearly the hand of man is everywhere. It's not first nature, it's been the creation of people, but from an aesthetic point of view, it's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. It's a functioning, sustainable agricultural system. And I wonder to what extent that aesthetic and those traditional forms of agriculture have been incorporated into this attempt to now create an ecological civilization and an ecological aesthetic.
Yeah, my main purpose to put this picture here is to show the concept of political ecology. Yeah. In China, has just as I mentioned briefly, has a very long tradition of agricultural tradition. Most of Chinese population is farmers, including my parents, and I was a farmer when I go to college. When I was a child, before become a college student. Yeah. So, of course, with the rapid development of urbanization or industrialization in China, more and more farmers, especially those young farmers, including my younger sisters and my brothers, and my uncle, moved to some big cities such as Guangzhou and so on and so forth to work for to work there. So to some extent, a lot of farmland were left behind these farmer immigrants into cities. That's the problem. Our government has realized this serious problem and has launched a project entitled the construction of new countryside. Traditional Chinese agricultural culture should be integrated into the conception of ecological civilization, such as President Xi Jinping in his words, he declares that the green, blue water and green mountains are as valuable as those golden mountains. Yeah, if you don't have to destroy your green mountains to develop a kind of industry. No, you don't have to destroy your original environment. The green mountain itself is a good mountain. Yeah, I think that's a kind of a metaphor through which President Xi tries to promote the ongoing project of the construction of new countryside. Because the countryside, I was born in a very poor countryside and had been living there for around 19 years before I went to Zhengzhou University to study for my bachelor degree. So I know countryside very, very well, actually. Their conditions, their living, and my family were very, very poor, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I can tell you a lot of stories about my poor young life when I was a young kid, you know. So, I think so. I mean, Chinese countryside must be changed. Otherwise, farmers, I mean the main population of China, are living a very low living condition. Their living condition should be improved. Yeah, that's true.
Eno vprašanje. Me zanima vaš pogled, ker ste govorili o tem, da umetno temelji na tradicionalni kitajski filozofiji, recimo na sodobni pogled, ki se pojavlja na Kitajskem. Jaz sem pred nekaj letom izjemno zanimiv članek prav od Xiangzhan Chenge, če mogoče poznate, teoretik iz Indije, mogoče tudi od profesorice Salehove, zanima me to mnenje. V bistvu on govori, da ko govorimo o tem, da so vzhodnjaki, recimo Kitajci, v stiku z naravo, torej recimo tradicionalno, nek biocentričen pogled, torej blizu narave, vse je eno je vse. Ta avtor, torej indijski avtor, uporablja koncept od Saida, torej orientalizem, in pravi, da v bistvu mi s tem skoraj projeciramo naše ideološke in kulturne bitke v Evropi, projeciramo na nekoga izven, na drugega z velikim drjem, torej na vzhodnjaka. Pa me zanima mogoče, kakšen je vaš pogled na to, torej ta avtor, znam teoretik govori točno o tem, torej da če mi govorimo o tem, da so Kitajci tako izpojeni z naravo, biocentričen filozofski pogled, da v bistvu mi projeciramo evropske težnje na Kitajskem, da je to podobno, kot je bil ta orientalski pogled, ki so recimo vzhodnjake razumeli kot neznanstvene, barbarska, kakoli. Da mogoče zanima vaš pogled. Če je jasno.
I think what you are talking about is a kind of comments. So, would you like to reformulate your question in one sentence?
Xiangzhan Cheng, zanimiv indijski teoretik.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him.
Ko se omenja to, da so vzhodnjaki, torej Kitajci in tako naprej, povezani z naravo, da so eno z naravo, da to izhaja iz tradicionalnega pogleda, tradicionalne kitajske filozofije, je on izjemno kritičen do tega pogleda, ker pravi, da je to nov vidik orientalizma. Torej orientalizem kot koncept, ko mi, Evropejci, imamo neke ideološke kulturne bitke, recimo o tem, kako bomo gledali na naravo, tu v Evropi, v Sloveniji in tako naprej, in da potem projeciramo nekaj, torej pogled na drugega z velikim drjem, torej Azica, Kitajca in tako naprej, ki naj bi bil eno z naravo, ki naj bi bil sočutje za naravo in tako naprej, in da je bil zgolj nov model nekega kolonializma. Pa me zanima vaš pogled.
Yeah. I think my response to long question contains 2 points. The first point is, industrial civilization emerged in the West, in the 19th century by the Industrial Revolution in British. Yeah. So, what we call the ecological civilization. No, the ecological crisis is mainly caused by industrial civilization led by what we call modernity. So, in order to reflect the theoretical or cultural root of today's global civilization, scholars all over the world, including scholars from India, always focus on the critique of modernity and its philosophical assumptions. So, with this reflection, a lot of scholars try to find new resolutions to the current ecological crisis. So they pay some attention to traditional ideas, including Indian ideas and traditional Chinese ideas, and even those American-Indian ideas all over the world. That's true. So I don't think that's a kind of new, what you call colonization. No, totally no. No, I don't think so. Yeah. That's the first point. The second point is, I was a farmer. I told you I usually went to farmland to help my parents to work. Farming is a kind of activity which must obey the natural rhythm: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And the 4 seasons are the natural law and the natural rhythm. If you miss some key point of the season process, you are going to miss. Let me give you an example. If it is the proper time for your plant wheat or plant rice, however, with some ignorance, you missed this time, okay, which means you cannot get a harvest. That's why season and natural law is very important for traditional agricultural civilization. That's why human beings at that time didn't have the power to conquer nature. What they can do is nothing but obey to natural rhythm and natural law. So that's why their thinking and their philosophy has some similarities with today's ecological thinking. So I don't want to directly call those traditional ideas as ecological ideas. No, I don't think so. By ecological ideas, I mainly mean those ideas inspired by ecology as a modern science. So, yeah.
I think you can concede that this is a vernacular science, this is a people science, which is what you and your family and the other farmers were developing. In fact, it's Orientalist thinking to say that it isn't science. Anyway, that wasn't what I wanted to say. Well, I think, following on from Dan's appreciation of this great beauty here, what's so important in ecological civilization is to materialize it. It's not just the words of which philosophy and which terms and so forth, but what practices, what material practice, as you're saying, with the science, one example. And what seems to be most impressive in China is there are groups which are materializing degrowth spontaneously from the ground up. I'm thinking of people connected with Renmin University in Peking, for example, who have a little donkey farm. And these are people with 2 or 3 university degrees, but they are genuinely attempting to establish sustainable, simple, degrowth economies. And also in the south of China, there are women who are working with feminist women from Hong Kong actually, who are renewing traditional practices agriculture without fertilizers, without pesticides and so forth, and no weeding and setting up local markets and so on. So they are materializing an ecological civilization, very close to the degrowth model.
Yeah. Thank you for your outstanding examples of the ongoing project of constructive ecocivilizations. Yeah. That's our national policy and national strategy. Various kinds of levels of governments, such as the provincial government, must respect for this national policy. Otherwise, they will be punished. Yeah, by the end of the year, when they will evaluate their annual performance, the standards has been changed dramatically. Not only GDP or economic growth, but also their actions of environmental protection. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Some high officials has been punished because of their failure in dealing with the national policy. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and the last question.
Hvala za zanimivo prezentacijo. Samo pa vprašanje povezano z vašo tezo, da če želimo materializirati te principe, da je treba povezati z regionalnim in prostorskim načrtovanjem in dizajnom. To se mi zdi še posebej pomembno v smislu implementacije teh principov. Pri nas uporabljamo kot sistematično metodo, sistematično presojo vplivu na okolje. V kakšnem primeru za land use plane ali pa za projekte. Kako vi vidite to teoretično navezavo na in uporabo teh metod?
Actually, in 2013, me and my friends, three American scholars, co-authored a book entitled Ecological Aesthetics and Ecological Planning and Design. Two of them are separately dealing the forest management and urban planning. So they do have practical methods, and I can share our book with you to let you know some of their strategies and methodologies contained in the book. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Okay. So thank you. Okay. Now it's break time for half an hour, and then we continue with a round discussion with Andrei Lukšić and Andrei Letera. Okay, thank you.